Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today I want to share with you a clip from a recent Splinterlands Town Square, and in this Matt's going to talk about the interconnected nature of the Splinterlands assets, which is so core to my vision about why this game is different, why it's revolutionary, because there's actually planning and thoughtfulness that went into making all of the assets within this game connected. DEC, SPS, cards, land, the different, even the games beyond Splinterlands and the growth and the vision for where that's going to go, there's an interconnected nature. That means if one gets pulled up, the others do too. And so it's like we have every reason to see the success of the different dimensions of it. But man, if even one of them start to roll, I think you start to see this amazing, exciting opportunity with the others. In the clip we're going to look at, he's going to focus on the SPS flywheel, how he's even going to prudently and reasonably speak about how that's not going to trigger right away. But he's talking about how cards are being burnt currently and how they want to aim at doing a great burning for cards. And I want to spend some time talking about that. So let's listen to what he has to say. It's about a 2.5, 3 minute clip, but we'll get into it. Here we go. While I'm queuing that up, I'm just going to say, if you're new to the channel, my name is Dwayne Cunningham. I go by Infidel1258. You can call me 12. Leave comments on any videos. If they turn into videos, I'll try to send a thank you. So leave your IGN.
All of the assets in the Splinterlands ecosystem are really like intertwined together. So we've seen also recently, as the DEC prices started to increase, while people also are trying to get more DEC, there's been a whole bunch of card burning. So we have a huge excess of Chaos Legion cards and Chaos Legion reward cards. And so those are starting to get burned as an effective way to get DEC. And that actually increases the DEC circulating supply. And that's fine. I mean, that's what we need ultimately, is for those cards to get burned and for all that excess supply to get out of the system. But I think, we're going to need all that to get out of the system, and we're going to need all these new features and products that are available only in DEC to start coming into play before we really start getting that whole thing to kick off. And that's a big part of where land comes in. So, with Rebellion, obviously you can use credits. So if DEC is too expensive, then most people would just use credits instead. But it's important to understand that behind the scenes, that's a service that the Splinterlands company provides. So if you use credits, then the Splinterlands company needs to have that DEC available to pay to the DAO in this case. But more importantly, things like land, and time crystals and purchasing grain, and also once the internal land market is out for grain and later other tokens, you're going to need DEC and only DEC, not credits, for all that stuff. So it'll get to a situation where hopefully players aren't really viewing DEC in dollar values. It's just, I need 10,000 DEC in order to get the time crystals I need, or I need X DEC to pair with my grain in the internal market to earn the trading fees on that. And that will hopefully push DEC buying to past the 1,000 per dollar value. And that's where, again, the whole thing comes into effect, where SPS burning comes into play. So, obviously I'm extremely excited, along with most of the community, to see how well the Rebellion announcement and upcoming pre-sale has been received, as we see reflected in market pricing. But, my expectation is that it's still going to take a bit of time before.
I'm going to stop it there. There's so many things in there. He talked about people are burning cards to get DEC. He talked about DEC reaching to peg. He even right there is talking about how DEC being at peg or near peg right now is not indicative of the flywheel's ready to rock. Like he's finishing the thought as I paused it, but he's like, just because we're getting close to peg doesn't mean it's like just going to blow up over peg, or that we're going to really see SPS shoot to the moon right now because flywheel effect. It's not like we need to get DEC to peg. It's like we need to hold it there. But if you track with everything he's been saying, it's like he's talking about a variety of use cases for DEC. He's talking about, Rebellion. He's talking about land and the staking requirements. He's talked about the liquidity pools and the pairing with grain. He talked about time crystals. It's all these different mechanisms and syncs and utilizations and functionalities and things you might want DEC for. So much so that you're no longer thinking about like, even the US dollar value of it. You're just like, I need XDC to accomplish Y in game. like staking X amount of cards requires Y DEC, or, you know, having X amount of grain to feed my monsters on my land or needs Y grain. And, you know, pack purchases the same thing, and, you know, time crystals the same thing, and future issues that also. And so, but then he touched on, and you might be a little confused. He talked about the card burning and it's creating new DEC, and that's why we showed splinter cards for beat, because you can see there's been an uptick in the DEC creation, the supply of DEC in the last 90 days, and it's gone boom. What was that about? He explained it. It's been card deletions. People are deleting cards to create the DEC, maybe because it's almost at peg, and then it becomes easier to just burn the cards to get the DEC they need. And maybe it's getting prepared for 1.5, or maybe it's like, you know, getting prepared for Rebellion. I don't really know. Or maybe it's just that card prices have dropped so much that they're now at that peg value, and it makes sense to just go ahead and liquidate and rather than try and sell a half-penny card. I don't know. And it doesn't really matter, but because the conversation isn't really just where's the opportunity. The conversation is about the interconnected nature of these different things. Because he's saying, like, if you burn the card, you get the DEC. And then you think, well, now we have too much DEC already, right? No, we don't. We don't even have nearly enough. And I'm not sure everybody gets this. If land gets fully utilized, we don't have even close to enough. Then you say, well, land's not going to be fully utilized. Yeah, I agree. But of the 4.6 billion DEC that actually exist, half of them are probably occupied in ways that cannot be spent, cannot be utilized. They're in liquidity pools, they're locked up in wallets, the company has them, etc. They're not really available, even though they're part of this DEC supply. So if you say even 2.6 billion are available, less than half, slightly more than half are available. You know, again, 7.5 could get eaten up by land if we use land properly. And that's only in land 1.5. There's also 50 liquidity pools coming to land 2.0. There's also grain. There's also time crystals. There's also rebellion packs. There's also, I mean, it's just use upon use upon use upon use. And again, the interconnected nature. So then is it a bad thing that people are burning cards to create DEC because we have too much? First of all, no, we don't have enough. Second of all, the cards being burnt is a great thing, right? We know card prices have been dropped. We've heard people complain about how many Chaos Legion packs there are, how many Chaos Legion cards there are, old reward cards, there's too many of them. Why don't we want to create ways to delete them? If they're getting to a price point that makes sense, I love it. As far as I'm concerned, that's like a weak hand selling situation. It's like you don't want to hold the card assets for the long term. You think Chaos Legion will never go up, burn them or sell them. And I'll hold mine. And in 4 or 5 years, as I've always said, long time horizon, I'm expecting gains, even on Chaos Legion. And I think a lot of people believe that that's never going to happen for Chaos Legion. They think this is going to be the one black eye on Splinterlands. This will be the example where they didn't get it right and it'll never appreciate. I think you're wrong. And I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I got like $10,000 worth of Chaos Legion cards. I bought a ton of these packs. I'm sitting on them. I believe in it. I don't care if you don't. I'm just telling you that the interconnected nature to this and the mechanisms through which the game is already creating sinks as well as opportunities to delete. When I say sinks, you look at like land and it can utilize up to 75% of all cards. It can utilize all of the DEC. And again, that's if you're using land fully, and we're not going to do that right away. I get that. But man, we can have an impact. We can have a massive impact on the available supply, bringing it lower, which absolutely has a price point impact on cards, on DEC, in turn on SPS, because they're interconnected. If there's not enough DEC, what do people do? They have to then burn SPS or burn cards. What does that do for card prices or for SPS prices? Up, up, up. And so again, it is absolutely the foundation of the conversation is, will they or won't they need more DEC? And I think I articulated and I think you should believe that we don't have nearly enough. That is why people are burning some, because they don't have enough. The peg price is we're getting closer and closer to peg because they don't have enough. We have more and more use cases. And if they keep doing that, and I believe they will, because land 1.5 is not going to have 50 liquidity pools for the resource patches. But as we get to land 2.0, we're told they will. and there's going to be different resources, not just grain. It's going to be brick and wood and, who knows what, but 50 different resources that are all going to be DeFi, and they're going to be paired up with DEC. So that's another sink, a massive sink. If you even called it, like, again, I've pointed this out before, but if you look at the liquidity pools that exist right now within, there's very few, but you can see these are the existing pools, and you're talking, 400,000, 200,000, the smallest one's 150,000. And so we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of DEC that will get put into those 50, each of those 50 liquidity pools when they get created. I bet 100, 200,000, depending on the usefulness of land, depending on the success of land. But I think land's going to be a massive success. Again, you might think I'm wrong. You might think I'm being overly bullish. Okay, take it with a grain of salt then. But if land works, and if those pools are actually come to the game, you have to understand that DEC is going to be necessary in that process. And then if it gets utilized and soaked up, and I just already told you, there's not even enough for land, there's not even enough for rebellion, there's not even enough for, the liquidity pools, there's not even enough, just forget about all that. People are burning cards because they need DEC. Like, again, if there isn't enough DEC, other things get burnt. And if those things get burnt, they appreciate. That's just plain economics, supply versus demand. And I think we have a recipe that's been laid out for us. It's like being told to us by Matt. And I'm going to show one more little clip from here. He's going to talk about how in the new year, they're going to propose a card burning. And I just want, hear the value of this, guys. As we delete assets, as these cards were deleted to create DEC, is it a bad thing? First of all, no, because we don't have enough DEC. You think we have too much, you're wrong. Second of all, no, because as those cards get deleted, there's fewer of those cards. And we've all complained, not me, but most of you have complained that there's too many of those cards. That's why their prices are falling, right? Well, this is a good thing. This is a win. Then you look at the Great Burning and you say, that wasn't a success. Some people out there will say the Great Burning with DEC was a kickback for the whales. They got all the benefits, and it didn't help me at all. 10% of the DEC supply was deleted during the Great Burning. The 500 million was burnt, and 5 billion was what they had. 10% gone forever. Yes, some of that was DECB, but gone forever. And did whales disproportionately benefit from that thing? Yes. But guess what? Whales disproportionately contributed to that burn. So this is the crazy thing. We need to recognize this, because we're actually cutting off our nose to spite our face in some ways when we fight these things. It's like, recognize that if the whales are willing to burn assets in a Great Burning event, we benefit even if we don't participate. If 10% of DEC was burnt and we see DEC price reaching closer to peg, in part because of that, and yes, there's a connection, then we can recognize that if we allow participants who were eager to burn cards to get, whether it's rebellion packs out of the DAO perhaps, or whether it's rift packs out of the DAO perhaps, or whatever the case may be, because these rewards can be negotiated, discussed later, DAO proposal, right? Decentralized governance. We can get to a place where the rewards can be incentivized in a way that is no skin off our backs. It's no skin off our backs, and yet it incentivizes big whales to do major moves that move the needle. And that's what happened with the Great Burning on DEC. Guys like Matt burnt like 12 or 15, I think $16,000 worth of DEC at the time. And DECB could have just, you say they got a free tract of land. That's so unfair. No, they didn't. They burned 16 grand in DEC. They could have bought a tract of land and saved some money. But do you see, they see the value in the game, so they contribute to the burn. And yes, they want to win things, of course. It's like buying a lottery ticket. But if you buy one lottery ticket and I buy 50 million lottery tickets to the same lottery, I mean, don't be surprised when I win and you don't. That's the thing, guys. And also remember, in the metaphor of lottery tickets, it's actually better than that, because when you buy a lottery ticket, you either win or you lose. But with the DEC burn, what happened was you win or you win, because you win a pack with your lottery ticket, or you win a plot of land with your lottery ticket, or what? you benefit by the reduction of supply in DEC. And then if we see a card burning, which he says we're gonna in the new year, you will see the same benefit. There will be card price appreciation. So you as a card holder will benefit. You as a player of the game will benefit. Let's see, hear the details around what he's just hinting at it. But man, I'm excited. So let's hear it and then we'll wrap.
Where we actually eat through the card oversupply and hopefully get to some serious SPS burning, and where we start to see the effects transition from DEC to over to the SPS token, which is the ultimate goal there. One other thing I also wanted to talk about, and a lot of people have been asking me about, is about
this is it right here.
There was proposals recently that didn't end up getting passed about doing a card burning event. So back in May for our 5-year anniversary, we did a DEC burning event where people could burn DEC and get all these different prizes. I thought that went over fantastically well, and that's something I'd like to do, more on an ongoing basis.
I love that he said that, like, not just one more time, but on an ongoing basis. Why not? We want, like I said earlier, we want to create avenues for syncs or for deletions. Like a sink is like land. We're going to stake cards into the land and it's probably never coming out of there. But if 50% of cards get put into land and never come out, the card prices benefit. So it's a sink, but then it has to be used. That's Tails. It's like he says, like a sink's no good. 20 sinks are no good if they don't get used. True. But land, I think, will be used. Let's see, but I think it will. And then he's saying the burn is like another thing. It's like another option. It's like, give us tons of options, ways to use them and to burn them or to sink them. And I think that's what he's doing. So let's keep listening to the card.
And I think the recent proposals that suggested that the next one be via burning cards rather than DEC, and it's essentially, like I said, everything's connected. So cards can be burned for DEC. So if you burn cards, it's effectively like burning DEC a little bit of a different way.
You see that? Because if we let a great burning happen where cards get deleted and they don't get paid, you don't get DEC out of that, then it's a deletion of DEC. But more than that, it's a deletion of card supply, which many in the community have already argued there's too much of. So he's saying it's a great idea. Let's do it. And how is it going to be paid for? Because you're going to think, some of you are going to be critical. You're going to say it's going to be a whale kickback, and you're going to say, I don't want to sponsor that. I don't want to. But hear what he says.
So it'll have the same effect and result. But that's what I would like to see happen. So I'm planning, early next year, potentially.
Early next year, I'm saying first quarter, I guess.
To do another event that will be a card burning event with a whole bunch of different prizes. The prizes are obviously still TBD, but there could be new promo cards. There could be
new promo cards. Would be something the team would develop. It'd be like an incentive, an exciting invitation, and you're going to say, "Oh, that's so unfair. I don't want to participate in some stupid burning to get a promo card." Guys, remember, this is like an opportunity to better the entire ecosystem. Like your card portfolio goes up. The DEC, if there's fewer DEC, the DEC stays at peg. If DEC stays at peg, then it's not easy to get it off the marketplace. And then SPS starts getting bought to get burnt. Recognize the interconnected nature. That's the whole argument he's making. And that's why we've watched this clip for about 4 minutes. We're diving in and out because it's this idea of this interconnected nature. And if you get it, then you get it. And you see not just the brilliance of Matt, but actually the revolutionary nature of Splinterlands. But he's got more to say here. So let's keep going.
Rebellion packs, Rift Watcher packs. There may be some proposals to the DAO to allocate some packs and other rewards, probably titles like we saw.
So he's talking more about the rewards that would be possible to the card burning that he's proposing for the beginning of next year. He packs, understand, you might think, I don't want them giving away these packs. Remember, the cards are as good as burnt in some sense. Like we are, with the way we're handling the packs now, Rift Watchers, Rebellion, some of them are going to go into the DAO. They're going to get burnt, or they're going to, and then some are getting burnt, some are getting into the DAO. And the DAO ones, those are our funds. And we, as a group of people that run this game, because we do, SPS voters, they in some sense and in increasing amount run the game, we're going to be able to it makes sense that we should want to incentivize the deletion or the reduction of supply of the total value of assets in the game. It's like, you know, a lot of tokens in crypto will just at times just like burn. They'll just like burn 2% of the supply or 5% or whatever. It's like they do that because they want to reduce supply to drive prices to a future higher. And it's just creating a sink. And he's talking about creating ongoing sinks, ongoing burning mechanics and opportunities to burn, and yes, creating incentive that is potentially like renewable resources being paid to incentivize the burns. What do I mean? Well, first, Riftwatcher packs are in the DAO. Let's incentivize a great burning with Riftwatcher assets. Then Rebellion assets will be in the DAO. Let's incentivize a great burning with the Rebellion assets, and so on. And it's like, yes, the game creates new intellectual property and ties it to it, maybe in, like he said, a promo card or a new title or whatever. And yes, those are things that you're going to want, but maybe you aren't going to get because you're not participating. But recognize the greater benefit for the entire ecosystem because of that, the interconnected nature. And if you get that, you see the vision and the brilliance of this man who's, wow. And in the middle of that, like, I don't know if we really touched on this, but just one last thought before we finish. He said in there, I don't know how if I even mentioned it, but he's talking about how the flywheel isn't going to just happen when we reach peg. Like, that's so different from Agrode, who was like push and shove and like you never have enough. Matt comes on and he's like, DEC's approaching peg, but recognize it's not going to just suddenly kick into flywheel. It's, could you ever picture any of the other Splinterlands staff saying that like before now? This is prudence. This is conservatism. This is realism. This is a totally different vision. And I'm super pumped about not just that, but the broader, like this has been his plan since day one, right? Building the interconnections so that when one goes, the other goes. SPS goes, DEC goes. When DEC goes, SPS goes. When cards go, right? It's so connected, and that's really exciting. And that's why I've always said that this game is fun and rewarding. And I've said that this is blockchain coming to Splinterlands, or to blockchain coming to video games, is revolutionary, because the opportunity to pay trivial, even inconsequential rewards to a player for their time and attention, but then knowing limited supply things drive up in price later. It's like, yes, it's inconsequential when you get it, but 5 years down the road, it can be meaningful. Soulbound reward has a $0 price on them, but they could be valuable later. SPS is a penny, but it could be valuable later. DC is, it's just going to stay a stable coin. But man, having these resource tokens and these things within this game at a time, especially now when it's almost being ignored or even mocked, is like, wow, I am so excited for the future, and in large part because of this man. So thank you, Matt. And guys, thank you for your time and attention. I'm going to leave it there. Have an amazing day, guys. God bless.